And we're back. We are doing some really cool Laravel registration experimentation. And before the break, I was working on just looking at the default registration and login stuff that Laravel will generate when you run some artisan commands and when you set up the database, and just the stuff you can find in the docs, right? Which is fun. But then I wanted to use this library to be able to trap email sending, and I found it. Bizarrely, miraculously, I found it. It is this. It is mail debug. I'm not sure how good it is. It looks pretty new, but this GIF is what really gets me going on this. Look here. Watch it. Redirects, and then you can click on that. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So I'm going to try and use that, actually. Let's composer require that, because we follow instructions. Except for the times when I don't follow instructions and end up spending an hour really struggling with some code. I could probably have done this in the break, but I only just found the link like a minute before I went live again. So there's that. Now, what are the artisan commands that we have? Artisan, let's just do this, because I want to see what commands we have here. Do we have, we do, we have make test. That's exactly what I was going to ask, because now we can go PHP artisan make test, artisan, yes, and we don't have a test name here. So what do we want to test? We want to test, let's see, what do we want to test? Auth test. That's the name of our first test. And so that should have made a class in this folder, auth test. There we go. This extends test case, which is what we want, which is this base test class. And it has an example here. So I'm going to just delete this example test, because I could have looked at that. On the other hand, I could have just gone to artisan and generated a new one, which is what I ended up doing. This is taking a long time. Okay, how do we run these things? Laravel by default supports PHP unit and has a PHP unit.xml file. So we should be able to go vendor bin PHP unit. There we go. One test, one assertion. PHP unit doesn't actually create instances of abstract classes, which is what I thought this was. But no, PHP unit will obviously... Wow, my syntax highlighting gone crazy. PHP unit says... This one here. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so PHP unit's only going to create instances of classes or file names that end in test.php, and test case doesn't, which is kind of a cheaty way around it. But anyway, now I don't typically like to start all my function names with test, because I think it's kind of unnecessary. You can use annotations to do this instead. And here I can say it lets me register, because that's what I want to test. Now, if I run this by default, sorry, I'm just going to use this database migrations thing, which I'll explain in a little bit. The other things I don't want. Whoa, so I delete the reference to it. Okay. Now, if I run this, PHP unit's going to say, you don't have any tests in there. No, it doesn't say that. Why doesn't it say that anymore? Is it because I'm using... maybe it's because if I take this thing out, then it'll moan at me. No test found. Okay, so apparently this is valid, which is, go figure. Now, the last time I used Laravel auth stuff was the last time I did testing in Laravel. So it's a few months now that I've built anything serious in Laravel that hasn't just been console based. And since I used that, a lot of interesting test functions were added, or were just coming into popularity, becoming popular. I could have just used English. How much fun would this be if I just used English? Since I did testing last, a few interesting and new and funky sparkly test methods have happened. So now you don't need to create mockery things directly all the time. You don't need to use Guzzle or curl to test HTTP requests all the time. You don't need to use the old create request or make request methods that testing used to have. You can say I'm going to go back to the docs because I've immediately forgotten how this thing looks. Something like this. I go to testing. Yes, okay, fine. Quickly, go away. This visit the URI that I'm going to, which is going to be, what's my login page? What's my registration page? Sorry, that's what I'm testing. Whoa, something went wrong. What happened there? Why is this rolled back? Oh, that's why this is rolled back. I need to create a new env file. I think this is the env file I need to make, and I just need to change this to SQLite. That's hilarious. Will this work if I run it? Okay, but I've got a syntax error in the test now, so yeah. So the thing that was happening was that I ran the tests, but I only had one env file, which was set to use MySQL and this database. And this trait that I was going to explain, the thing that this does is that before each test, it rolls back the migrations, or like resets the database. Which is fine for testing. Like it's pretty cool for testing if that's what you want to do. But because I was doing that on the main local database, it was wiping the database. So what I did was I made a .env.test, where .test or test specifically is the name of the environment I want these config variables to run in, and then I just put SQLite there. In fact, I can remove all of the stuff and just have the DB connection there, and it'll override that one thing, should override that one thing. So now when I say PHP artisan migrate, I'm going to see these tables here. Should see these tables here. Why doesn't Command R do that for me? I see these tables here. And when I do PHP units, where they were being removed before, they're still being removed. Oh, that's painful. Why is that happening? This should actually be, is it .test.env? Is that what I need? Something like that. Test env. Is that the thing? So now if I migrate, I have the tables. It's really fun figuring this all out in stream because I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. No, okay, I can't figure this out. I'm just going to delete it. But what I will do is I'll go to the docs and I'll see what it says in the docs about that. Configuration, yes, configuration. Environment configuration, all that nonsense. Env example. No ways, there used to be different modes of configuration. There used to be different modes of configuration for this, where you could have one env file for testing. .env.testing, I tried that. Oh, you have to configure it. Where? Sorry, links aren't links aren't allowed in chat for various yeah, so now I know that you can flick the environment here. Oh, is that it? PHP unit.xml. Testing! Oh! Thank you very much. I can't even pronounce your name. Apfelfrisch. Sorry if I've butchered that. .testing. SQLite. Okay. Let's see. Run the migrations. The tables are there. Run PHP unit. There's a big old problem because I've got the database name here, which is not what I want. I actually just want the defaults and everything else must come from config. What did I just do? I just want to change the connection. That's it. Still have a problem. Database does not exist. Ah, cool. Okay. Touch that. Run them. There we go. And the table should still be there. Yay! Okay, cool. So to recap, and thank you very much for Felfrish, who told me to check phpunit.xml, even though I have terrible syntax highlighting here. The environment that PHP unit sets here, app environment, is testing. The default configuration for this database stuff is usually .env if you're doing this well. But because we share these details as global details, if I run PHP unit and I use the database migrations trait, it will roll back the migrations for each time it does a test. Which means if I've got local data and I run the tests and they're sharing details, I'm going to lose my local data. But you can make .env, .testing, and override values from the globals. And then it's going to tell you you don't have a database file, and you can touch the database file like I did, and then it'll use that to store data, and everything is great. I don't know why it doesn't just make that file by default. Anyway, database.sqlite, and this ignores SQLite files. So fine. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, I haven't actually done anything interesting in this test. But what I was trying to do before I got hopelessly distracted is I was trying to see what the routes are that the registration page is on. So it's just /register. I visit this. I see the text register. See what else? See elements. Name. Email. Because I'm checking that all these form things are there. Name, email, password. I don't really care about the confirmation password thing because that's not what I'm testing. I want to change the purpose of this test first. It validates required fields. Press register. See. Now, I'm just going to run this first because I want to see what happens when I don't do this. It's going to tell me these things are required, which is good. That's what I want. So I should see these strings. The exact formatting of them, not too important, but I'm interested in seeing the validation errors there. Email, password. So this is the first test that I want to do, just to validate that the required fields are being met. Error, what? No supported encryptor found. I see. It's because I set the app key in here. In fact, I'm going to copy these details over here. Now, this is an interesting question. This gets created when I create a new Laravel application by default. How do I do that key for a different environment? Oh. PHP artisan. This is something like key generate. What are the properties for this? Help. The environment the command should run under. I don't think that's going to do what I wanted to do. But I'll share this key with testing, which is fine. I'm not particularly crazy about that, but at the same time I don't really care that much about it. Vendor bin PHP unit, and it runs. I have quite a few assertions. What are my assertions here? I see the text register. I see these elements. These are 4 of what I would consider assertions because they expect that. I expect that they will happen on this page. This is a separate set of assertions. So this is my when. This is my then. This is another when. And here are some thens. That made no sense, it's fine. This is set up for the things that I want to assert, which are these things. I see the register text, I see these 3 fields. Another bit of setup, when I press register in the state, I should see this text. Okay, it's a very simple, very simple test, but it just makes sure that I have this route that works, that I have at least these 3 fields, and that when I press register without putting anything in them, I get validation errors. It's a very simple test, but it's the first step in testing forms, this registration stuff, well. And you can do similar stuff if you're setting up other forms, or indeed if you're making custom registration, you can do it there. It validates email addresses. So I go to register, I fill, no, that's not what I want. I text, what is this thing? I complete, go back here, back again. Interacting with your application, type, that's what I want. Type the text foo into the field email. Is that by name? I'm guessing it's by name. C, email must be an email. This is probably the wrong error message, and I will just confirm it is the wrong error message by putting it in there. Okay, so it's doing some JavaScript validation. I'd like it to do some server-side validation. So what happens if I change this just to text and I submit the form? Must be a valid email address. Wow, I was super close. But now when I run this, I have some failures. What is going on here? Why have I got all this stuff? Validate that. Failed asserting the page contains the HTML. Email must be a valid email address. Email must be a valid email address. That's interesting. Oh, because I haven't pressed the button, of course. That should work now. There we go. Okay, great. So now we're checking that these fields are required and the validation error messages match sort of what we expect them to be. Yes, thanks, Hammers. Sorry, there's a tiny bit of delay, but I ended up figuring it out in the end, but well spotted. When I visit this URL, the second test says, I put a phony email address in, press register, and I see this error message. Now, this may be curious to you because as you saw, when I tried doing this through the browser, I actually got a step in the way of what I was just testing. And it is this. Don't be fooled when you see these things. Visit, type, press C. I need some water. Don't be fooled when you see these things. It's not actually emulating a browser here. It's making requests. This visit says make request. Type is store input value to construct a post request. Press is submit form. I mean, it's not doing browser-based stuff. It's emulating requests. So I'm not going to see this message because it's not going through a browser. I don't have to validate for that stuff. I don't have to use Mink in here. And the reason you might be confused is because it's actually quite popular, quite often done to use things like Behat and Mink. And emulate this through a browser. That you start running Behat and it pops up a Firefox instance or a Chrome instance, and you see things happening on screen like inputs get filled and things wait, and it's not doing that. So that is still something you could do separately, but not in the case of this. This is a lot simpler, I think. What else do I want to validate? And I'll go a little bit over in time in this segment. I think it's fine. It lets me register. This is what I want to do. I go to register. I type assertchris in name. I type my email address in email. You're welcome to email me at that and ask questions if you want, or give me comments about the stream. That's also cool. And I type, for the sake of being really secure for people who maintain this in the future, password in password. Okay, I press register and I see you are logged in. Maybe I want to reduce this because I'm actually just more concerned with the essentials of it than anything else. I run this, what do I see? Doesn't contain logged in. What is in that view? What should be displayed there? Let's go to resources, views, auth. Oh no, this is home actually. You are logged in. Something happened. What happened? Oh, I need to put this in password confirm as well. Is it confirm password or confirm? Confirm password or password confirm? I forget. I think it's that actually. Sigh. What is this? What is this field called? Confirmation. Sure. Password confirmation. And still it doesn't give me that. It doesn't give me that. Why not? Okay, let's try these details in this form and see what happens. Oh, I actually think it's because... No. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to guess. I'm just going to see. Password and confirm. Not now. Welcome. Oh, that redirects me back to the home page. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to take welcome as this testing then. Now, how do we change that? Let me just run this test and make sure it works. Okay, fine, it works. How do we change that? We go to auth controller and we say redirect to somewhere else, like home. Then when we run this, it's going to say it doesn't work because it's not going to find welcome there. But we can say logged in. Now when we run it, there it works. Okay, yay! Great, so we're making headway. And I want to continue doing that, continue changing it up a little bit and showing you how to modify things and making more tests. But I'm going to take another quick break. So hang around for another 2 minutes and I will be back so soon you won't even know what happened.